Have you ever wondered where you came from before your mother's womb or your father's tadpole and where this life leads? The Tibetan Book of the Dead, also known as Bardo Thodol, might provide some answers to these questions. Written in the 8th century by Padmasambhava, the founder of Tibetan Buddhism, this book explores the concepts surrounding life, death, and what comes after. Many people ponder what happens after we die. Some believe in an afterlife, while others contend that nothing occurs after death. Some assert that, like a lion who can't speak about death, we cannot honestly know what to expect. The language of this ancient text includes words that do not have direct English translations. And many religions traditionally do not uphold the belief in an afterlife, making it difficult to grasp its true meaning. The Tibetan Book of the Dead is fundamentally rooted in the Buddhist idea of reincarnation. When a person dies, they are reborn, die again, and continue this endless cycle. The next life could be as a human or could take the form of a dog, cow, or even an insect. Regardless of the form taken, Buddhism teaches that life inherently involves suffering. Therefore, many Buddhists strive to escape the cycle of reincarnation by seeking enlightenment. The ultimate goal of this pursuit is to achieve a state of enlightenment. A notable example of someone who attained this is Siddhartha Gautama, known as Buddha. Enlightenment is viewed as the way to break free from the endless cycle of suffering. However, even lifelong practitioners of Buddhism find reaching this state incredibly challenging. Our souls, or our consciousness, remain trapped in our bodies, making it difficult to transcend animal instincts. Additionally, modern society poses obstacles to living a life focused on enlightenment, leading most people to die without achieving it, only to be reborn. This book provides a detailed guide on breaking the cycle of reincarnation after death. Even if one has not attained enlightenment or does not adhere to Buddhism. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung once said, "The Tibetan Book of the Dead is the highest level of psychology for humans." From the first sentence, the book invites us to recognize that the creator of all things exists within us. To understand this concept, a significant shift in perspective is required, often accompanied by many sacrifices. The Tibetan Book of the Dead has also influenced Western psychology, impacting many prominent psychologists, including Jung. It teaches those facing death how to attain liberation and describes in detail the experiences we may encounter at the end of our lives. So, what happens to us after death? How can we achieve a state of liberation? And if we do not reach that and find ourselves reincarnated, what is the best way to be reborn in a peaceful and happy place? I will share insights about death and the afterlife through the teachings of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The project, titled Mystery Stories to Listen to Before Sleep, will explore all the secrets of the afterlife. Based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, published by Jung Jong Sa. 1. Padmasambhava. The individual we refer to as the Buddha is Siddhartha Gautama, the founder of Buddhism. He was born around 560 BC and is believed to have died around 480 BC at 80. Before the end of his human life, he told his disciples, "After I die, I will be reborn as Padmasambhava." In the 8th century, a king named Indrabuddha was in the Danakosha kingdom in Uddiyana. He had a son with one of his queens, however, the child died shortly after birth. The kingdom suffered a devastating drought during this time, and the king lamented his misfortune. As time passed, the king became increasingly despondent and ventured to a remote island. There, he encountered a young boy, appearing to be about 8 years old, sitting on a lotus flower and radiating a glowing light. The king asked, "Where are your parents?" The boy replied, "My father is Myungji, and my mother is Biop Gai Bo Hyon Nyeo." He claimed to be the reincarnation of Amitabha Buddha, birthed from the lotus. The king immediately recognized the boy as a Buddha reincarnate, and brought him to the palace to raise him as his son. This child became known as Padmasambhava, meaning born from the lotus. Choosing to relinquish the throne, Padmasambhava became a monk at a young age. He traveled to various teachers and practiced in Ladakh, a region in the northern Himalayan mountains that was part of Tibet at the time. The 14th Dalai Lama, mentioned earlier, established a Tibetan government in exile in that area. Over time, Padmasambhava grew into a wise and highly respected monk with a profound legacy that endures today. I taught at Narana Buddhist College, spreading the Buddha's teachings to students. One day, the 37th king of Tibet approached Padmasambhava, seeking guidance. Subsequently, Padmasambhava returned to Tibet and began disseminating Buddhism throughout the region, marking the inception of Tibetan Buddhism. To this day, Tibet is recognized as a land rich in Buddhist tradition. Just as Bodhidharma introduced Buddhism from India to China, Padmasambhava is a legendary and essential figure in Tibetan Buddhism and its culture. Not only did he train disciples, but he also authored 108 scriptures filled with truths and teachings in the mountains before his passing. He refrained from sharing these texts or revealing their locations. Before he died, he left behind a message about his scriptures: when a bird made of iron flies, and a silent cart rolls by, the spirit of Tibet will spread across the world. In 600 years, my disciples will know the right time. They're going to find these scriptures one by one. We can interpret a bird made of metal to mean airplane and a silent carriage to refer to a car. Padmasambhava indicated that approximately 600 years after his death, the texts he authored would gradually be discovered, although the time for that was not then. He wrote these texts in the 8th century, when Buddhism began to face persecution, leading to the burning of many Buddhist scriptures. Foreseeing this, he concealed all his writings in a cave. As he predicted, precisely 600 years later, in the 14th century, his texts began to be uncovered. Today, I will introduce one of these essential texts, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. This scripture has significantly impacted Tibet and the West, becoming a necessary representation of Tibetan Buddhism. To sum it up in one line, the Tibetan Book of the Dead is a detailed guide to the afterlife, aimed at achieving liberation after death or rebirth in a favorable realm. 2. What does death mean in Buddhism? What do you think will happen when you die? While my family and loved ones may grieve for me, what will happen to me after I pass away? Materialists, who believe that everything comprises physical matter, argue that since the soul and body are not distinct entities, when the body dies, one can no longer think or be aware of anything, resulting in pure nothingness. In monotheistic religions, such as Catholicism and Protestantism, it is taught that after physical death, our souls separate from our bodies and ascend to heaven or descend to hell, depending on how we live our lives. In polytheistic religions like Hinduism, there is also a belief in an afterlife, suggesting the existence of another life beyond death. However, despite having deities such as heavenly beings and bodhisattvas, Buddhism presents a different understanding. Buddhism is not strictly monotheistic or polytheistic, it focuses more on universal truths and the pursuit of enlightenment, with the ultimate goal being liberation, which is not easy to achieve. Like many other non-materialistic religions, Buddhism posits that there is life after death. It embraces the concept of reincarnation, meaning that when a person dies, they acquire a new body. This belief originates from the understanding that life is inherently suffering. While the reasons for this suffering may not be fully known, Buddhism views it as a cycle that should not continue indefinitely. The goal is to attain enlightenment and break free from the cycle of rebirth, ultimately returning to a state of nothingness where there is no perception, thought, or even a sense of self. Similar to how Christianity presents heaven, Buddhism describes a kind of afterlife known as the Deva realm, where celestial beings reside. However, Buddhism teaches that even being reborn in this realm should be cautiously approached and is not the ultimate goal. As I mentioned, the goal is to break the cycle of reincarnation altogether. While there are various practices for achieving enlightenment and liberation, it is essential to acknowledge that this isn't easy for busy modern individuals, even those who believe in Buddhism. Many people who have lived their entire lives in Buddhist cultures and identify as Buddhists often do not reach liberation in this life or after death. Instead, many are reborn as humans, animals, insects, or even sent to hell, perpetuating the cycle of reincarnation in different forms. Padmasambhava emphasizes this in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So, is there a way for those who want to break the cycle after death, or at least be reborn in a better place, without undergoing separate training or hardships? Yes, there is. The method is outlined in the book left by Padmasambhava, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. This text provides detailed instructions on what to do after death. How can we utilize this book to achieve liberation? Here's the guidance when someone is nearing death. Family or friends should read from this book aloud next to them for 49 days, repeating the readings 3 or 7 times. It is crucial that the deceased spouse or family members do not cry or wail, as this can negatively impact the person who has passed away. Additionally, those present should avoid touching the body to prevent confusion for the deceased. The key is for the deceased to focus on the guidance from the readings. If no one is reading beside the individual's bed or chair, believing their spirit is still listening, it may hinder the process. Next, let's simplify the content of the book. The Tibetan Book of the Dead explains that our consciousness separates from the body when a person dies. For approximately 49 days, we wander through a state known as the bardo, which is an intermediate realm. The tradition of observing 49 days after death stems from this concept. The Tibetan Book of the Dead states that this 49-day period is our only chance for liberation. The original title of the Tibetan Book of the Dead is Bardo Thodol, and Tibetans refer to it as a great book that allows one to attain liberation through hearing and understanding it in the bardo. After we die, we experience 3 realms: 1. Chikai Bardo; 2. Choni Bardo; 3. Sidpa Bardo. Bardo means intermediate state. We stay in the first realm, Chikai Bardo, for 3 days, then in the second realm, Choni Bardo, for 14 days. And finally, we spend 32 days in the last sphere, Sidpa Bardo. During these 49 days, our physical body is already decomposing. While our family and friends read from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and we must seize this opportunity for liberation. Just before we stop breathing, we experience intense pain as our bodies begin to break down. And it is at this moment that we first encounter what is referred to as the clear light. This phenomenon is known as Jingwangmyong. It occurs in the first of the 3 realms discussed earlier, termed Chike Bardo. This moment is said to present the best opportunity for enlightenment. The feeling in Chike Bardo resembles that of dreaming, and much like how most people are unaware they are dreaming, those who are approaching death often do not recognize that they are dying. As a result, many miss their chance to be liberated during Chike Bardo. The text conveys, "Oh, noble one, the moment has come for you to find the path back to the source of existence. Your breath is about to stop. Now, you will experience the light of the afterlife's first stage. Everything in this moment is like a clear, cloudless sky. Pure and unblemished, your mind is like a transparent void with no center or edges. In this moment, come to know your true self. Stay in the light. Realize that your empty heart is Buddha. When you understand that this is your true consciousness, you will remain in the state of a Buddha's mind. Simply put, the light you see when nearing death is akin to your mind. And recognizing that both light and mind, along with everything we perceive, are ultimately empty space, is crucial. Acknowledging this truth during the moment of death can guide you toward liberation. However, many people, much like in a dream, miss their first opportunity for enlightenment at this time. This occurs because the dying individual may still see and hear, so they fail to realize they are passing away. If family or friends read from the Tibetan Book of the Dead or a monk performs a ritual called phoa, it can significantly impact this process. It is said that one can help someone on the brink of death achieve liberation through these means. The phoa ceremony is a ritual separating the body and consciousness, a traditional practice passed down through Buddhism over the centuries. Only a few highly esteemed monks are qualified to perform this ceremony. Consequently, when a monk is unavailable to conduct phoa, most people miss their chance for liberation in the first realm after death, known as Chike Bardo. Once this moment passes, the consciousness separates from the body and transitions to the second realm, called Choeni Bardo. Here, the experience is quite astonishing. The deceased can see themselves dressed in burial clothes and hear their friends and family grieving. In simpler terms, it's like watching their funeral from a third-person perspective. They are also said to perceive the subtle emotions of those attending, and often, feelings of anger arise towards relatives and religious figures conducting the ceremony. Some people experience a deep sense of reverence or genuine sadness at funerals, while others may want to rush through the process, almost zoning out. The Tibetan Book of the Dead acknowledges this range of emotions, suggesting that humans naturally react differently, and that the ultimate goal is enlightenment. Therefore, one shouldn't become angry or overly worried about these feelings. Interestingly, the deceased begins to experience visions from the moment of death. The nature of these visions varies based on one's background, shaped by the environment the person grew up in and their past experiences, beliefs, and actions, all of which are tied to their karma. For instance, someone raised in a Protestant culture might see angels or demons, while a person with a troubled past might confront more terrifying visions relevant to their karma. The Tibetan Book of the Dead states, "O, noble one, you will experience three states: the afterlife at the moment of death, the afterlife where you experience the source of existence, and the afterlife where you wish for rebirth. These three phases are Chike, Choni, and the Sidpa Bardo." During the first phase, Chike, the deceased experiences the afterlife at death. A clear light from the source of existence appears, but they may struggle to grasp it. Fear and dread may arise in the Choni Bardo, which lasts for 14 days. You should remind yourself, "I will set aside all fear, dread, and surprise towards the illusions. Whatever visions appear, I will realize they come from my mind." In simpler terms, anything seen during the Choni Bardo is a false illusion created by the mind, influenced by life experiences. On the first day of this second world, you will encounter the God of Peace, as described in the text. The first visible deity will radiate from his chest, with a transparent, majestic, and dazzling light illuminating the great wisdom of the truth's realm. This light is intensely blue, so bright that you can't look at it directly. In that moment, you may feel fear and dread because of your negative karma and want to flee from that light. Instead, you might be drawn to a dark white light flowing from the celestial realm. The blue light represents the peaceful deity, the Buddha. During this time, the Buddha appears alongside various guardian deities. However, the lion, representing you, feels frightened by the brightness of the light. Behind the lion is another light, the dark white light. Instead of being attracted to the Buddha's blue light, you might instinctively gravitate towards the white light behind you. Nevertheless, the lion is encouraged to enter the Buddha's blue light rather than the white one. If you do so, you can break the cycle of rebirth and attain the state of Buddha. The text warns that you must recognize that the Buddha, the blue light, and the dark white light are all illusions. But most people say they can't reach enlightenment here because of the karma they've built up. More deities keep appearing before the lion on the second and third days of the Choni Bardo. These gods shine brightly, offering the chance to take refuge in them, but the lion is overwhelmed by fear and chooses the dark light behind him instead. By the seventh day, the gods get angry. From the 8th day until the last day of the Choni Bardo on the 14th, the lion sees the angry gods. These angry gods are way scarier than the peaceful ones he met before. He witnesses 58 furious gods engulfed in flames, drinking from the lion's X and cutting off people's heads. The gods unleash a blinding fire, glaring at the lion with wide eyes. Their eyebrows tremble like lightning, and their teeth clash together, sparkling. The angry gods emit booming sounds like "Arara" or "Yuhaha" and whistle sharply. The book describes it all. Don't be surprised. These are just the gods of peace who have changed their appearance. This is just an illusion of your mind, they don't exist. So, the lion spends 14 days in the Chonian Bardo, unable to reach enlightenment, and ends up moving on to the third world, the Sidpa Bardo. As time goes on, the chances of achieving enlightenment get slimmer. Not reaching enlightenment means you're getting ready for reincarnation. Here, the lion feels like it's being pulled down increasingly, and that's how the Sidpa Bardo begins. It's a place with strong winds, but not the kind of wind we think of. It's the wind of karma, caused by the wrongs we've committed in life. The lion gets tossed around by this wind and hears people's screams. While all this is just an illusion created by consciousness, the lion doesn't realize that and feels confused and exhausted. It has a strong urge to escape and rest somewhere for a bit. At that moment, the judge of the dead, King Yomra, shows up. Next to him are white and black pebbles, and he displays everything the lion has done like a movie. When the lion does something good, he places a white pebble before him. When he does something terrible, a black pebble goes in front. It's all about weighing the lion's good deeds against his bad ones. The lion is shocked and says, "I didn't do that much wrong," making a sad excuse. Then, one of the angry enforcers of the King of Death says, "I will put a rope around your neck and drag you along." At this point, the enforcer does unspeakably cruel things to the lion's body. But then he adds, "But you can't die. Even if your body is torn apart, you will come back to life. Don't be afraid of the King of Death. Your body is originally empty, so there's no need to be scared. The King of Death is just an illusion you created." The Book of the Lion reminds us that everything is empty and that what we see and hear is an illusion. At this point, the lion begins to miss its physical body, having endured a long and difficult journey over the past month. However, the lion's original body has already decayed, creating a strong desire for a new body. The lion thinks, "Oh, how unfortunate. If only I could get anybody." Once King Yama's judgment is complete, 6 lights appear. These lights represent the cycle of rebirth, also known as the wheel of Dharma. The lion's path to being reborn splits into 6 different directions, and now it's your turn to choose a light instinctively. Here are your options: 1. Dark white light; 2. Dark green light; 3. Dark yellow light; 4. Dark blue light; 5. Dark red light; 6. Gray light. Have you picked one? Depending on your chosen light, I can tell you where you'll be reborn. 1. If you chose the dark white light, you will be reborn in the heavenly realm where the celestial beings reside. 2. Choosing the dark green light means you will be reincarnated in a realm of dark green giants. 3. The dark yellow light signifies that you will be born back into the human world. 4. If you select the dark blue light, you might return as animals like dogs, cows, or horses. 5. The dark red light may lead you to the ghostly realm, where dark red spirits dwell. 6. Choosing the gray light could result in finding yourself in a gray hell. While the lion has a choice among these 6 lights, it's important to note that it doesn't have complete free will. The lion is drawn to one color based on its karma. However, it might still reach the heavenly realm if it lives a good life and accumulates good deeds. Nevertheless, reincarnation is a continuous cycle. The Book of the Lion advises against entering the human realm before achieving enlightenment. Even in the heavenly realm, life has its limits, and this new body will eventually perish. The book warns strongly against being reborn as an animal or in the ghost realm, as those who find themselves in either will struggle to achieve enlightenment and may wander in that state for an extended period. Nonetheless, the book mentions there is still one last chance for liberation. The lion must begin deep meditation immediately. During this meditation, it should visualize the form of the deity it believes in. If it has no religious affiliation, it should contemplate itself. The lion is then advised to dissolve the form it has envisioned slowly. Once that form completely melts away, it enters a void state. The book encourages the lion to remain in this void, as it represents the final opportunity for liberation. However, if the lion misses this chance, it will be reborn. At that point, it will begin to perceive the womb and feel a strong desire to enter it. The book states, if you're meant to be born as a man, you'll gradually start feeling masculine. Alongside this, there will be a strong hatred towards the person who will be your father and affection, and attraction towards the person who will be your mother. If you're destined to be born as a woman, you'll slowly start feeling feminine. You will experience a strong hatred towards your mother and a deep affection and attraction towards your father. You'll experience ultimate joy and may faint into unconsciousness in that state. Later, you'll realize you found yourself trapped in a fetal position. At this point, the lion sees 9 specific scenes, and depending on which one you choose, it will determine your rebirth. Let's explore them together. 1. A lake with swans floating on it. 2. A big, beautiful building. 3. A lake where horses are grazing. 4. A lush lake where cows are grazing. 5. A temple or mansion surrounded by jewels. 6. A stunning forest or flames swirling in different directions. 7. A rocky cave with deep holes and mist. 8. A desolate plain, cave, jungle, or ruined forest. 9. The sound of a wailing song, a gloomy land, and black and white buildings. Have you made your choice? Based on your selection, I'll tell you where you'll be reincarnated. 1. A lake with swans. You'll be reborn in the eastern continent. It's a peaceful and happy place, but it's said to lack the teachings of truth. 2. A big, beautiful building. You're born in the southern world, a place called Jambu, which is said to be part of our current world. It's considered acceptable to go there because wisdom can be found. 3. A lake where horses are grazing. You're born west of this lake, in a wealthy place where cows are treated as currency. However, it's a place devoid of truth or teachings, making visiting unwise. 4. A lake filled with lush trees where cows graze. Here, you're born in the northern continent. People live long, happy lives, but once again, there's no wisdom available, so it's not a place to visit. 5. A heavenly realm surrounded by temples or mansions adorned with jewels. You're reborn in this beautiful place where celestial beings reside. Since you're being reincarnated, you can choose if you want to go there. 6. A stunning forest or a world of ashura with flames swirling in different directions. You should avoid this place. 7. Rocky caves and bottomless pits among misty beasts. You're born here, another place you should steer clear of. 8. A desolate plain, caves, jungles, and ruined forests. This realm of spirits features howling songs, eerie earth, and buildings in black and white. 9. Hell. If you choose this path, the lion will lead you to reincarnation down a dark path. Once reborn, it will feel like fainting, causing you to lose all memories of your past life. The Tibetan Book of the Dead states, the moment you step inside, the entrance will close. You'll be scared to come out. You'll think it's not a good idea to leave right now. You'll feel a strong pull toward the refuge, which represents the womb. Fast forward to the 14th century, texts by Padmasambhava began to be discovered, including the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which started gaining recognition among Tibetans. As time progressed into the 20th century, the Tibetan Book of the Dead reached the West and became widely known, gaining significant popularity and stirring considerable interest. Carl Jung remarked, the Tibetan Book of the Dead starts as a closed book and remains a closed book. It's a book that opens only for those with spiritual understanding. The giver of all things is. The text highlights a vital realization: everything we experience originates within ourselves. We are the ones who create our reality, and we, as the main characters in our lives, make all the decisions. For many of us, perceiving the world as a product of our minds can be challenging. Achieving this perspective requires a complete shift, often accompanied by significant sacrifices. Our animal instincts can obscure our understanding of ourselves as creators of our environment. Many Western psychologists, including Carl Jung, have drawn insights from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Reactions to this idea may vary. Some may embrace it while others dismiss it as nonsense. However, one undeniable truth is that many religious individuals, including Tibetans, find solace in reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead to their loved ones as they approach death, helping to instill a sense of peace in those final moments.